Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Today, let's stay on the political sphere. I mean, let's face it, 2023 is not that far away. And one of our friends, so to speak, friends of the house in terms of disseminating information, especially as it concerns the conduct of elections, regulation of elections, INEC I'm speaking about. He's back. He's been away for quite a while, but I'm happy that Barrister Mike Igini, he's in the house. Mike, it's great to have you back again. Welcome. It's been quite a while.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Indeed, quite a while. I've been on leave, you know.
Indeed. Mike Igini is the Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa-Ibom State.
Correct.
But then he's one of the longest serving Resident Electoral Commissioners because you became one in 2010, if memory serves me right.
Correct.
And you've actually managed in between, here we are now in 2021, and in that span of time between 2010 and 2021, you've served, as looking at my paper here, you've been in Cross River, you've been in Edo State, and now you're in Akwa-Ibom. In between, you've actually had roles in some elections in Imo, Osun, and Anambra. You've been quite busy, Mike, and here you are. You were appointed by one president, President Jonathan, and you were reappointed by President Muhammadu Buhari. So very little has been going on in modern INEC that somehow or the other you weren't part of.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is true. It's true that I have the rare privilege, and I thank the two presidents, of being called to public service by two different presidents from two different political parties.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting thing, because there are aspects of it. Because the problems, the challenges that bedevil our elections are, the charges of partisanship and that kind of a thing. But as it happens, the original appointing president, so to speak, was from one political party, PDP, and President Muhammadu Buhari is of APC, and here you are reappointed. Well, as our people like to say, to God be the glory for all of that. Yeah. Now, I thought that the subject of our discussion this morning could be electoral reforms, because I started there showing how back in the day in 2010 and here we are 2020, the advances that have been made in the electoral process. Sort of get an assessment from you, because right now I would have thought that one of the most significant advances would be the transmission of results. That's probably one place that we could look at. There's so much other, but the transmission of results, it wasn't very much, it wasn't possible when you first started out. But then the series of, shall we say, administrations in INEC have been working at the matter incrementally. Are we at the stage now, Mike, where you think that we can, with due confidence, say that electoral results untouched and unblemished by human hands, so to speak, we have arrived at that stage?
Well, thank you very much, Iyori, and our viewers. Yeah, it is true that we have been in the system for a while, particularly since 2010. And we've had the benefit and the privilege of being part of the efforts to reform our electoral process in order to give meaning and purpose to the ballot as the best means of expression of the will of the people in a democracy. More so when we know that if the institution of representative democracy will have a hopeful future, it will have to be predicated on periodic, regular, free, fair, credible, and more importantly, acceptable election. It's against this background that when our chairman, Professor Mahmoud, made a statement over and again, repeatedly, a very correct treatment of fact, that INEC is the most innovative public service agency in Nigeria today. And that's what you just referred to in terms of the current debate that is ongoing. But my advice first, as I give you facts as to where we are coming from, is that I want to commend to the Nigerian people the document, the INEC document that has just been released, titled Position Paper Number 1 of 2021, to all Nigerians to read the trajectory of where we are coming from. It is true that since 1999, as I noted the word of my interview, that Justice Ephraim Akpata, the late INEC chairperson, was the first who thought of the idea that we need to begin to make changes and
away from manual processes.
From manual process. Because when he came, what he meant was Olympia typewriter and all of that he meant the system. And he was the first who awarded the first contract for the EVS system. He awarded the contract. Unfortunately,
EVS, electronic
voting system. So all we are talking about is about electronic voting system. And they are in 4 stages. 1, you have to talk about the biometric register. Number 2 is electronic balloting. We are not there yet. 3, accreditation. That's number 2. The number 3, balloting, and number 4, e-transmission, which is the last stage.
Okay.
And that is why I always tell people that, look, before we come to the last stage, let us deal with the issues that will define the very last stage. But for the purpose of the first question you ask, when he died, Gobadia came in. When Gobadia came in, he introduced the OIMR. All right, like the kind of thing we're doing, those we're writing jam.
OMR standing for?
Standing for the biometric registration we're trying to register at that time.
Okay.
Then you do the scanning. He introduced that. Then when he left, Professor Ewu came in. Ewu now expanded the communication system and installed VSAT in the 774 local government in the 36 states. But what happened? A whole lot of problems, conspiracy by the elite. The entire billions that we put into that in 2007 could not work. In fact, he also tried to pioneer the use of SMS to send results. Then came the Jega regime. We came in by 2010. And by 2010, Jega building on, if you look at INEC, every chairman will be building and improving on what he meant and introducing new things. So under Jega, the first stage was now very successful. The first biometric register in Nigeria was now successful. For the 2011 election, we had 73 million, registered voters when we did that. That was the first time we no longer have foreigners' names on our register of voters. Unlike the previous years, you all can recall very well when we have Mike Tyson and all of that. Meanwhile, Nigerians' names are not on the register. Number 2, under the Jega regime, which we are together, of course, we introduced the card reader. And of course, the permanent VSAT can contain the biometrics, the data of every one of you, and using the SCR to read it. Who did that? And also there was an effort at what they call the e-track of results to ensure that, because when you have 119,973 polling units across the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to now begin to, because after election, for example, you talk about presidential election, people want to know, because Section 71 of the Electoral Act says that we should display the names of candidates for election and their scores. How do you do that manually across Nigeria? We could spend months and even years, because it meant that you have to take each polling unit and begin to compute everything together. So we tried the A-track, which was built on. Now, 2019, the current chairman. Now, what the current chairman has done is to take the commission to entirely new level. in looking at what he meant and taking the bar up there. Because under the EU system, it tried the SMS, and it had two issues: multiplicity of political parties to be sending the result and all that. Then senders errors. Now, under the Jega regime, interestingly, the first, of course, under the EU used local government, that is 774 local government of Nigeria, to try to transmit result. But the question is, the result you are transmitting, which are supposed to be the result of polling unit and greater the ward, what is the credibility of those results? This is what the current leadership have addressed finally. So that will remain an issue. Under the Jega regime, I was the rank of Cross River State. And that was the first place in where we now move to the level of the wards. 8,809. But for the purpose of Cross River, we're dealing with the RA in Cross River. Interestingly, to tell you that INEC has been very, very stable. The current director of ICT in INEC was appointed by Dr. Gubadia, who was the first to establish the ICT unit, and later have the multi-purpose build ICT complex we have today. That is the guy who has risen to become a director, so that the significance of institutional memory in building institution in any society, that is the guy currently in charge, so that people can appreciate where we are coming from. Right now,
all of this
under the Yakubu's leadership now, we have now gone to the local, what we call to the polling units. Don't forget that under EU it was local government, under Professor Jega it was at the level of the wards. So in Cross River in 2012, as the REC, the governorship election, right in my office, as we're seated this way, on the board, I saw the result being uploaded from the ward. But the question remains, what is the credibility of those results from the polling unit? Are they altered? Have they been changed? This is what Mahmoud Yakubu leadership have addressed. Such that today, as we speak, at the polling unit, the moment the results have been declared in each of the polling units, as required by section 71, as well as section 73 of the Electoral Act, I talked about step by step. The results are entered from EC8A, duplicate given to party agents and security entitled to. Then we develop the form EC60A that we call the People's from EC8A, which is published at the polling unit. Thereafter, the current leadership now introduced what they call a Z-pad, an improvement on the smart card reader. So with this Z-pad, which is what has changed the whole thing now, you immediately snap the results, and what we do is to upload it into the cloud.
In full view of
witnesses of everybody, into what we call INEC Result Viewing Portal. Now, once you put it on the portal, it is there. There's nothing about hacking. And that's why I gave you an example.
Yeah, but how about the National Assembly, as you well know? Yeah. It seems that it is not entirely comfortable that this will be doable up and down the land. The National Assembly, if you remember, had opined that there are areas, talking about the electoral reforms, that there are areas where data and consequent transmission is simply not available, and they feel that those areas will be left out. What would be your commentary on that?
First and foremost, that is why I want to commend the Commission for the level of engagement it has had so far, particularly the position paper number 1, 2020 and 21. And of course, Honorable Professor Okoye,
yes,
who had done an excellent job.
Oh, yes, so he spoke severally on this point.
On this point, all right. The only thing I just want to add is just a little gap here. And that is that to say this, that for us to have a process that will serve the good of the country, and particularly those who are contested for elections, we need to listen to one another to be understood. From our point of view, and particularly in particular myself, and that's why I've restrained from engaging on this matter, because of the level of the partisanship acrimony that has followed this issue. And I wanted the partisanly dust to settle before everyone, because I've had so many invitations to speak on this matter. And that is that we take the view that those who have expressed different opinions about the issue about in-transmission, we have one thing in common. None has said that it is not desirable.
No.
There's a common point, all right?
Yes. But that it is not necessarily possible
the point of the
from everywhere.
That is why we have to provide information, because knowledge, you see, history is the graveyard for contending opinions. And that's why I give you the background to the trajectory. You know, part of the problem we have in this part of the world is that we lack ethical commitment to be on the path of progress. And anything we do now will hurt what we're doing. So, those who said there are issues or fears about some areas not having network, they should not be dismissed at all. In fact, all the views should be on board. In fact, they are also saying that they are interested in the safety and security of the result of the people. That is how INEC as a commission will see the entire conversation. If that is the case, and as I have said before, and from what is contained on the report, about 97%, which means that what is left is about 93%, what's left about 7%, 2023 is still very far away. We can identify those areas and immediately deal with it. But what I'm interested in is this, to let you know that why we don't need to quarrel, to fight, the bitterness, the furor is unnecessary. Because what we are doing right now, Yori, is such that the sanctity of the vote of the people, as expressed, nothing will change it. As I stated here, the Edo election, the Ondo election, and several 6 senatorial elections that we have conducted, as well as 15 state constituency elections we have conducted, none has been challenged in courts. Because remember that prior to now, at the exception of GSM, when people lost their telephone, the cry has only been that, oh, I cannot reach out to you because I've lost all my contact and everything. That has only been the issue. But today, if you lost your phone, you are given a new SIM card, because your data already in the cloud, you have already signed on that. Once you are given a new SIM card and it's activated, automatically
you can pull down all your data.
So it will be there. So what INEC is doing now is that, and that one does not require any law. We publish the result. Now, by publishing that result, we have given what we call constructive notice. The point of departure where people are making mistake now is that it's been confused. That's why this intervention is very important, to let people know that, look, we don't have to quarrel over this about issue e-transmission, because we have to make a distinction here. There's a difference between electronically transmitted result to be domiciled somewhere and electronically transmitted collated results. What we are doing at the moment, which is the reason why there should be no fear by anybody.
What is it you are doing at the moment?
What we are doing at the moment is that we are moving on 2 lanes. Section 63, Section 65, Section 71 of the Electoral Act, very clear, requiring the presiding officer from one state to the other to enter specific form, EC8A, EC8B, EC8C. That is what is now used to finally make a declaration. But the uploading into the INEC Result Election Viewing Portal, once it is in the cloud, we will give everybody, in the Edo election, we upgraded the portal to accommodate over 2 million viewers. You are in Japan, you are in Germany, any part of the world, You have to see it.
You can see the results as they are
As
uploaded.
they are coming. And as I speak to you, I can ask Nigerians that if you have your phone with you there, the result of Edo election and Ondo, I will simply launch it to our website right away. And you will see the result in the original content. Because with the IVED, which is a new innovation I've introduced, what it meant is that from EC8A results, our images in the original form are already in the cloud. So who is hacking anything in the cloud?
Okay.
Now we move from polling unit to polling unit to get to the last point of collation. This is what we are doing. So we are still moving on 2 lanes. However, the aspect that people are talking about, which is not what is currently ongoing, is there is a sense by some people that this is polling unit, this is what? Actually, this is local government.
What Mike is showing there is a sort of a diagram.
A diagram.
A diagram
now,
showing
this is a
the
polling
collation
unit.
process.
A process. This is a polling unit, this is a ward, this is a local government, this is depending on the election itself and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, the idea of people, why they are worried or expressing concern, is that at the polling unit, they have a sense of a continuous process of transmission in such a way that at point B, people feel that it could be hacked. Something could be introduced in there. At point C, it could happen.
That results could be adulterated.
Absolutely. When you talk about the transmission,
you're saying that is
not correct. Because what we are doing, you are correct. Because at the polling unit, this is where we are. We upload into the cloud. And that is why right away.
But it does have to travel, even by this coalition. And I don't want to spend too much time on this.
We use manual. We use manual.
Okay.
And this is manual.
Okay.
This is the manual process.
Because when it is uploaded,
and you have your agent here. You have your agent here. At every stage, the contestant has his own agent in this way. Now,
vouching for the integrity of the results that are being uploaded.
Now, what we have done differently.
Mike, I beg your pardon. I know this is a very involved process. We are fortunate, and our viewers are fortunate. Festus Okoye, the INEC Commissioner for Information, he's spoken with us severally on this. And so I'm going to, for the moment, have to come away from this because there are other aspects that affect the integrity of the election. Looking at, because I'm looking at this in terms of the implications of the electoral reform for the 2023 elections, and I'm sure all hands are on deck with that. The crisis, political crises within the parties, how do they affect, this beautiful planning? Because what you've done now is that when we get to the stage of the actual voting properly, how to process it transparently, so that everybody especially who has the ability, can see that there's no underhand word here. But the whole matter about the crisis within the parties, both, all parties. Take the situation in Anambra, for example. Take PDP, take APC. They all have their internal party issues. Does this concern INEC really?
Well, first and foremost, in the electoral ecosystem, the political parties are the essential organ of the democratic process. In fact, modern democracy is inconceivable without stable political parties.
Well,
and that is where we have our concern, that the problems emanating from political parties since 1999 in terms of party management is most unfortunate. That over 22 years, political party management has been an unmitigated disaster. Because how do you explain? Because the first duty of any political party in any democracy is the presentation of candidate for elections through political party primaries. But the problem we are having,
which INEC usually witnesses.
Absolutely, because under the 10th schedule, paragraph 15, as well as the Electoral Act, we are saddled with responsibility to monitor the operation and to make rules and regulation. But what we have found over the years is that the political parties are not even obeying their own constitution.
And that's on the one hand.
And that's on the one hand.
On the other hand, that I want to also think about is that the part of the judiciary intervening in the process? Because when you say some political parties are not even obeying their own constitutions, their own rules, the litigants run to the judiciary and get rulings, decisions that affect...
First and foremost, it's a failure of management. Because why should we always be running to political parties? As a matter of fact, the Unamani committee that was set up, I was a resource person in 2016 by the president at Uyo. When were you? Political parties were basically saying that INEC should come and help them to be conducting primary. And I said, a day should never come when INEC should be seen in the arena of this kind of thing that we see in this country. Otherwise, INEC will lose its own credibility. We can't do that. So political party management in Nigeria has been terrible in terms of their relationship between their members. And when it comes to issue of primaries, that is a problem. And you can see the gathering storm at the moment.
So, because I was going to ask, if you're calling it a problem, across the board, not any one particular political party. So what, because I'm looking at the implications of electoral reform issues on the very important 2023 elections that are coming up.
Fantastic.
So what can I want to do in that regard?
I want to call on the National Assembly. Because looking at the current bill that a committee has been set up to fine-tune, Iori, there are profound recommendations in the new bill that will change the entire landscape if fully implemented. Particularly, Section 87 of the Act that talks about direct or indirect primaries. Some of the shenanigans of the political parties in time past have been severely, seriously addressed in the current bill, so that today, Section 87 will be having about 11 subsections to deal with all issues. For example, you want to do political party primaries. They will fix a venue. Few hours to that election, the venue will be changed without notice to INEC, not notice to aspirant within the same political party. Now, if you are going to change all of that, there are a whole lot of guidelines that you need to follow that will be enforced. So my prayer is for this bill to be out, because as a matter of fact, if we had had this bill as an act before the Ondo and Edo election, some of the issues that we witness with respect to those a choice of candidate and all that would not have happened. So we need to deal with that very seriously. And as a matter of fact, you look at the Electoral Act, talking about the implication, they have also done a good job at the level of Section 49 that previously had only 2 subsections. We are now having about 10 to 11 subsections dealing with issues about accreditation. But interestingly, on the part of INEC, we have done something very marvelous. You know, that has been tried in Isoko on the 7th of the 11th of September.
It's interesting you said some of the provisions, they're really excellent. If only we
can get it out.
We can get it out. That is, people would comply with them. Let's go on a quick break now. When we come back, why would people not comply if it is the law? And some of the challenges that you face, and also the role of judiciary in all of this. It looks like, it seems to a lot of people that the judiciary, it might be that we don't understand it thoroughly, but sometimes it seems far too enthusiastic in its willingness to, want to engage in the matter, and that is creating problems. But all of that when we come back. Stay with us, please, and we'll include your calls as well. I guess there are many callers that want to ask questions. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back, and we have with us as a guest this morning Mike Igini. He is the Cross River Electoral, I beg your pardon. Wow. He's a past Cross River Electoral Commissioner, and even Edo, but now, today, to the glory of God, as our people like to say, he's the Akwa-Ibom Resident Electoral Commissioner. And we're looking at the implications of processes, reforms, to the 2023 election, which is quite frankly just around the corner. In terms of the body of work that still has to be done, or that is being done, it's not that far away at all. Now, you've taken a lot of time to usefully explain to us the whole integrity of transmitting results in the interest of fairness and all of that. You've addressed some of those concerns. Now, the other ones that are not in the hands of INEC, take the judiciary, and I just couple that with security agencies as well. Security agencies and the judiciary, they're supposed to be non-partisan in everything. Is that the sense that INEC gets? Is INEC sometimes frustrated? Does the law, it has been said in a totally different context that the law can sometimes be an axe. It is you lawyers that said so. It's not me. Are there any frustrations? Because I'd like to hear interpret. Are there any frustrations to INEC?
Well, you see, in our institution, we have very good people, and we also have some bad elements. As a lawyer, as a member of the Judiciary, I am, and very many of us are not happy over the role that some of our colleagues, and that's why you must make the distinction, because we have some of the finest judges who are committed to the ethics of their calling. But we also have a number of them who are not doing that. And that is why, for example, look at what happened in Anambra that you referred to. Something that happened in Anambra, primary issue about political parties and all that. But look at almost all the courts in the socio-political zones were all giving all kinds of orders. And that's necessarily not new.
But even the Chief Justice has, he has complained.
The point is that why should that be?
Yeah.
Why should that be? You don't have jurisdiction over a matter. Today, politicians are having, they can get all manners of orders. They come and tell you, that, look, I will get this order, all I just want you is to obey. That's what is going on. So, the commitment to our calling, I'm not seeing that happening with a number of our colleagues. And that was why you could see that in Akwa-Ibom State, a court of law would convict a professor who manipulated election result in an election. What happened? All he's supposed to do, he was already in the prison, the correctional center, and not that what's supposed to do is to appeal that judgment. He had not taken steps as at the time he went to another high court in Akwa-Ibom, and another high court granted him bail pending appeal. And the only condition, the ground for granting that bail was that he is afraid that the court of appeal might delay the appeal of the convict. So why are we celebrating about the effort at Federal Appeals Commission?
And the conviction has not been quashed.
Absolutely.
But he's a free man today.
He's a free man today. So what message are you sending to would-be electoral offender in the country? This is the frustration some of us will get. You try to do the right thing, there are people out there.
Well, that's the
who
law.
Are putting all manners of roadblocks from doing right. So the first watershed case, look at what has happened. But in any case, we are very clear on that. And the matter is ready on the court of appeal. But today, the man is free after spending just 108 days out of 3 years
imprisonment.
Then the other professor who also had to utter resort and all that. Do you know that even
but the law allows it? This is the frustration, perhaps.
This is the frustration you are talking about. And that is why judges like that, the NJC have to take decision of judges like that.
Because the discretion is with the judge.
Because the condition for meeting bail after conviction has not been met. Then, of course, you talk about security, which is one of the issues we talked about. Security, look, there are key stakeholders that will determine the credibility of elections. One, INEC, security, judiciary, political parties, the media, and the electorate themselves. But of these three stakeholders, of these 6 stakeholders, 3 are very key. INEC, security, and judiciary. The trinity of these 3 will change the landscape in Nigeria. But today, and this is for the interest of the political parties, how do you have a system where even within a political party, security is when aspiring to be a candidate for their party, security will be the hand of one aspirant against another aspirant. In preparation for election, you will have Commissioner of Police change 8 times in a state. That's what I witnessed in Akwa-Ibom and several states.
And this, as this happens, it probably is your contention that these are not unrelated happenings. They're not coincidental happenings.
Can it be a 8th commissioner of police? In fact, in Akwa-Ibom, it's so terrible that one day we had 3 commissioner of police before the 2019 election.
Let me bring in Mazi Okorafo. Mazi Okorafo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our software agency. Good morning, sir. Honestly speaking, sir, let us see the rifle to see. The Nigerian election is a one issue that now turned to one-man drive issue, no passenger, which is not healthy for a country like ours. The best option to me for us, for everything to flow normally, let the Electoral Act be signed, and all the results to be transmitted the way it's supposed to be. Like INEC have just really said yesterday, and they have been saying it. No, we have to learn a lesson from what's happening now in Anambra State. I agree that the youth are just up, and my own appeal to the INEC authority, that the traditional rulers, they have a lot to play. Even religious leaders, even the parents and guardians of these children have a role to play, because we know very well that if the children refuse for election to hold in Anambra State, look, one, government have no option, either place state of emergency or allow the government to continue going. But it is not healthy, because the youth, they said they are the leaders of tomorrow. Is it not the rightful thing for the youth themselves to see that, agree that people who have come and gone, let us say bye-bye, the 3 hours, let us say it's still hanging. But the question is, I want to find out from our guy in the studio. Now that the election is just less than 1 month in Anambra State, or just call it 1 month, is it not wise for the federal government that all the religious organizations to go from house to house, that the late INEC use them? There's nothing wrong completely, no, because you don't use force. Because I think when they did our Asiwaju program in this channel, there was a lady that called from London, another one called from US, the suspect. They said there's nobody in this world that has a monopoly of violence. Nobody. But everything happened today, but we just decided to let everybody fight flow. Reconciliation is very, very important. Peace talk is very, very important. Gara does not solve anything. We have seen what is happening in Afghanistan. They say Taliban, that America will do them. The Taliban came in. What is happening now? The Afghanistan are facing the worst ever government in that country. Both boys and girls, men and women, people, they cannot sleep, they cannot eat. People start selling their property. So, Mazi,
your question to Mike Igini, your question to Mike Igini would then be what?
People start coming to sell. We pray that what is happening, you know, happening, because the way we are looking at this, people, now, I want to ask you a question, our guest. Now, this Panorama secret report of the wealthy people, at least Nigerians are part of it. Can't we bring those people, let them at least come and bring money? Maybe it's money that's covering in the Anambra, to bring money and see how they can teach the students, the children, they give them work.
Oh,
the Nigerians we have that appeared on that very report, he said, at least BBC or Soldier, I saw Babatim, they listed everything there for Tom and Dick to see. Let them come and help Nigeria now or never. Thank you, bro. That I'll be saying it. Each state, you have at least 50 people that can, their money is higher than the budget of a state. Have a present day in Lagos. God bless all of us.
Thank you.
I think the takeaway from his question is about the need for the passage of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which is very, very important because it has implications for our society and also for the National Assembly members. And I think that, and I've said this in some other platform, I need to put a few data here to let people know that when you fail to do what will also preserve the system and yourself in terms of your quest to going to render service for your nation, you are undermining yourself. Because the consequences of not having, for example, we're already behind with respect to each other about using the current template to manage party primaries. But if you look at what happened between the figures we have on our data, when we call on our friends, colleagues in the National Assembly, look, you've got to do this. If you don't do this, there will be problems. In 2003, when the reform that we pushed could not go through, what happened? 70% of those who were elected in 1999 did not return. Only 30% came back to the National Assembly. Don't forget that we have been spending money in training people on legislative processes outside the country. In America, in another part of the world, people spend about 30 years because you need experience in lawmaking. But most of our lawmakers who have experience, who are good, are denied ticket at the level of the party level.
Okay.
And that's why it's in their best interest to do that, because They are the most endangered. Again, in 2007.
Okay, one second, please. I beg your pardon, because Chidi in Kafanchan has come on the line. Good morning, Chidi.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Igini on the studio.
Good morning.
Yes, I've been listening with keen interest the debate or the discussion that is ongoing at now. But my take at this point remains, no matter the level of reforms that the Nigerian electoral system will undergo, with the level of sufferings in the eyes or in the lifestyle of Nigerians, in the livelihood of Nigerians across board, I want us to have it at the back of our minds that electoral apathy is one of the things that is going to discredit our further elections. Therefore, I am of the opinion that the policymakers should look into how to reduce the inflation, reduce the unemployment level, and reduce the level of criminality in the Nigerian landscape. If these things could be judiciously put into place, I strongly wish to believe that our electoral value system is going to go a long way in helping and enthroning a proper democratic process. Thank you so very much. God bless Nigeria.
Indeed.
It is true
much.
that poverty has become one of the factors that are responsible for the evaluation of the ballot in Nigeria. As a matter of fact,
because as you are saying all these marvelous things,
Thomas Piketty,
there are those who are not listening,
right,
simply because they will go with whoever is the highest bidder.
The greatest threat to our democracy is the level of poverty and illiteracy. And that's why I will refer to Thomas Piketty in his work, Social Inequality. He made the point very clear that when you have intolerable level of inequality, this is what is going to happen when it comes to it will lead to the devaluation of the ballot. And that has happened all over the world. So, and that's why I left what the issue about vote buying and so on and so forth. Because, you see, the elite, they are always very unified. No matter how this appear to be in disarray, at some point they will come together. But the majority of people are powerless and they are in disarray. That's the problem that we're having.
And at the mercy of this very elite
Absolutely.
who have unlimited pockets,
and
so
that
to
is
speak.
why Joseph Skupita himself, in his own book titled Democratic Elitism, he made the point very clear that in any democracy, the choices that we are called upon that INEC is going to conduct the election are choices already made by powerful group already, those who already have influence. And that in the final analysis, we are only called upon to make a choice between choices that are already been made by those who have influence and resources.
Actually,
and that is why we tried as much as possible through innovation to insulate the process from the pre-existing influence of this group of people who are acting sometimes as extra-constitutional actors by ensuring that the vote of the people must be secured, because without securing the vote, election becomes a mere ritual without choosing.
But Chidi's point is still an important one, which you also agreed.
Absolutely.
That with the kind of poverty in the land, but
people will set their ballot.
Exactly. Good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and greetings to Mr. Igini.
Good morning.
I want to appeal to Mr. Igini to please tell his colleagues at the INEC Commission to pursue this electoral law vigorously. Because if you look at what happened when the consideration was being done, the people that are against the bill are the lawmakers themselves. Because many of them are the culprits. I'm sorry to say, but that is the truth. That election integrity is suppressed in order that they themselves might. So they will not be very happy to make laws that they themselves will be forced to obey and that could work against their own personal interests. So in that regard, I was privileged to see the draft. Very, very credible recommendations. I don't know how INEC is going about it. If I were you, why don't you employ the support of civil societies to be drumming this need publicly, and also employ the assistance of Mr. President to prevail on these lawmakers on the need to promulgate that law in the way you have recommended it. So for the benefit of everybody, because the leadership recruitment is the bane of our problems in this country. if the right people are in positions, the hunger that the gentleman that called talked about and the hardship in the society will be reduced to the barest minimum when we have good managers of our resources. And this is the only way, this recruitment method is the only way to get the right people there. So please don't give up, in my own view. Pursue it vigorously to the best of your ability, and see that you win the support of civil society groups, even religious leaders. Force them to speak up, and then get the support of the people with you. Only then will the lawmakers, yield. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Well,
George.
Iyori, I think that the National Assembly, they have set up the joint committee, and we are very hopeful. Like he rightly said, I have gone through the bill, and I can tell you that the things that are there are commendable. They have done a great job. Great job. The only issue that is left is what a committee has been set up. And they listen, we all listen to one another. And as I said, there are things I don't want to say right now. We want to wait until everything is out. There are things we reserve for now. We don't want to talk about, But what we can tell Nigerian people is that the vote of Nigerian given in all the elections before the 2023 election and the 2023 election will be accounted for. Because election is supposed to be a process of vertical accountability. And like he said, and I've said that before, and I will just give you the statistics of the fact that when you fail to do this, you are going to be denied primaries. You are going to be denied primaries. And that's why 70% could not return in 2003. In 2007, 76% could not return. In 2011, 68% did not return. In 2019, 69% did not return. It was only in 2015, 69 did not return. It was only in 2019 that only 56% returned. They were all denied tickets. And that's why this Electoral Act Amendment Bill is even also in their best interest. You see, it is well with the hunter. It will be well with the hunter's bag.
Good morning, Ada, in Jos. Go ahead, please.
Hello, it's Ada from Jos. Mr. Igini, I was almost giving up. I always like listening to Mr. Igini. I'm glad to meet Mr. Igini again, Mike Igini, on TV program. I can't forget his popular saying, which goes like this: even if the cock belongs to an individual in a community, his crow is for the entire community. He used this aphorism to buttress the position of INEC to work for Nigeria. And that's exactly what he's doing now. He's one man that has passion for his job. Mr. Mike Igini is a name that shook the judiciary and sent some shivering down the spines of professors. Now, when the professors are appointed to do the reg job or returning office or whatever, I'm sure nobody will tell them to do the right thing.
All right, then.
In fact, if I had my way, he deserves to be the next INEC chairman, assuming he is interested in that.
As you said, Ada, if you have your way. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in. Mike, let's spend a little time on the, shall we say that, the ideal e-voting. Is that a possibility even remotely within view in our country? Because, there have been clamors for it so that people can vote, that Nigerians in diaspora, for example, can vote. Nigerians that, for whatever reason, cannot get to the polling units.
You see, what we are doing, we are going in stages according to the level of our infrastructural development. The EBS system is in 4 tracks. We have succeeded with the first stage. The second stage is that of electronic accreditation, which is already ongoing. The Bermuda accreditation process we are talking about, which is the new sheriff in town, is so that for any reason, your biometric could not be, read with a zipper, assuming. What about your facial image? We are now doing both finger and your facial image. And we are going to go to iris very soon.
Okay.
And that is why when we demonstrate in Isoko, all right, on this level of September, it was a shocker to so many people. Somebody came with the PVC of the mother because the picture has faded. I thought you could play. All we need to do was to put out the system and call up the picture of the mother in 2011. That is where we are right now. So the third stage is electronic balloting. We are not there yet.
Yeah.
But before we even got to that electronic accreditation, effort had been on by the commission to deal with result, because ultimately we want to end this business of election petition tribunal. I mean, unelected chambers should not be the one to make the determination of that. And in any case, how do you ever explain that governorship election in Nigeria, we have to go through 4 stages? Stage of INEC, tribunal, court of appeal, Supreme Court. What is so special about governorship election that we have to travel this long journey to make a determination? In any case, you know what is happening right now is the court of law that are now determining who won the election. That is not how it should be. We want to give accounts. We want to justify the end that justify our exercise of all the resources we have put into all that we are doing, because there must be value for money. Do you know, Iori, that INEC have developed a whole lot of processes, procedure that are replicable, sustainable, to ensure that a time will come, NTA, TVC, channels, all television stations, as you watch in Edo and what do you call it, Edo State, you don't need to wait for us anymore, because the beauty of what we are doing with the portal is that the collection officer at the ward level, local government, at all the levels, they have access to that result. You cannot change it again. That's what they are mistaken to call transmission.
Indeed.
So we must give account of the vote of the Nigerian people. That's the only job that we are asked to do. And we call on all stakeholders that we must come together and begin to do that for the good of our country.
Indeed, and I want to thank you very much, Mike Igini, Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa-Ibom State. Thank you very much for coming on. It's always an exciting encounter, because you know, you've helped the process along further. Many other, you know, INEC officials, and I must, you also referred to him, Mr. Festus Okoye, the INEC Commissioner for Information, along with people like you. They've really, you know, been working at letting us know all the work, giving us a progress report. But as you said, inter alia there, that if only we can abide by all the provisions, and it is in our interest, but
in our best interest.
But still, we have the challenge that there are those who are working against it simply because transparency will not suit them. And that is not where we want to be at all. Sure. So I want to thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, as always. And I'm sure you, now that you're back from your vacation, it won't be this long before we speak with you again. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Iori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.